I'm Tim Phelps with iCoat Products, and I make flooring and countertops and tables and all kinds of things out of our epoxy. But this is Tiffany from Savvy Revolution, and she's doing a lot of things I'd never even thought of with our epoxy. So could you explain some of the things that you're making?
Absolutely. So I use the epoxy to make tumblers or wine glasses. They can be stainless steel, plastic, or glass. The epoxy works beautiful on all of them. I also use it to make keychains. So if I have any extra, I always pour it in a mold, and I'll make keychains, I'll make jewelry, earrings, bracelets. I will get some molds to do rings. There are molds to do pens. You can make all kinds of different kinds of pens. The geodes, you can make coasters. Coasters are amazing. Different shapes and sizes. You can do knickknacks on the walls. All kinds of fun, super fun things to do.
And you've made
with
cutting boards and heating.
I have, yes, cutting boards. Things that you can put your pots on, you know. And then you can take those apart and you can use them as coasters individually or hold. There are molds that you can do to make shelves. You can do shelves. Mm-hmm. You can do, your imagination can run wild, and you can do anything with the epoxy. You just need to think outside of the box and just work your way and just play and have fun with it.
Right. So did this start out to be a hobby for you and it evolved into a business opportunity?
Yes. At first I was a substitute teacher. Well, I was a parapro first, and I worked with special needs kids. Mm-hmm. And then slowly I transitioned into a substitute teacher because my business was kind of taking off a little more. Sure. So I was working all the time. So subbing, I can go still see my kids at the school, but still have fun playing with
sure.
and creating. I love to create, but I also love to give back. So I would work with the schools and I would create products for them. And then it just kind of builds up into a full-time business now.
Yeah, do you get together with friends and do this, or do you do this as a class where you say, hey, come make a tumbler for X yet, or is that something that you're considering in the future?
Yes, I have considered that. Actually, right now I'm working just alone, and because I like to learn techniques, I like to learn so that I can teach
sure.
outside. But I am building certain areas so that we can, do wine and craft.
Oh, nice.
And fun things like that, yes.
Okay, excellent.
To try to grow and to try to share, have fun with friends and just enjoy a lot of fun. Yeah,
we did a huge floor for a place called Art of Merlot, and they do, the gals come in and they have an artist that does a painting, and they drink wine and have a good time, and then we did the floor because the paint doesn't really stick to it, so it was very good for that. But it seems like that would be an avenue you could explore where you have X amount of people come and
oh, absolutely,
have a few toddies and make something cool, Yes. Sounds like it might be kind of fun.
That sounds a lot of fun. And then with having so many turners, because I did build my own turner for my cups, I could fit 21 ladies on there, and I could have my own single turner showing them what to do, and they can all work on their own cup.
Yeah, that sounds like a great
business. And with your product, with the fast set, we could actually turn out a full cup in a day. In one of their little sessions, we would be able to turn out one of those.
Nice.
Okay, so I know cutting boards are really popular right now to do different designs on the edges of the cutting boards, which is just fabulous. You can give them as gifts. But there is also like certain ones where you can create the geode look.
Yeah, sure.
And you can put it on the wine bottle, and then it has the little edges on the, and you can put the wine glasses. That's an amazing gift.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Other things that I've done flask sets. So you take a flask and you take the little shot glasses and you can epoxy those. There is wine sets where you have the whole wine bottle thing with the two glasses, and you kind of do like nice little wine sets. Mommy and me sets, you can do tumblers, you can do bottles. There are dog bowls. I've just recently went into dog bowls.
Blingy dog bowls.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah, I bling them out, and they're beautiful.
Right, that's cool.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about some of the things you've sold. So your jewelry, your tumblers, where do you sell that, and where do you find your customer base for that, and what seems to be selling the most?
Okay, so my customer base is word of mouth. I sell on Facebook and Instagram. But I got my start from the schools, so that's where my business kind of took off, is, students wanting different things, their parents wanting those, and so it's mainly word of mouth. I've sold the tumblers. I've sold, I actually like to give keychains out when I make a shirt or when I make something, just as a nice little bonus. Thank you for ordering from me. So I like to keep those. I've sold and given coasters out as gifts. I like to offer those, kinds of things, since they are just leftover epoxy.
Sure.
It's nothing out of my pocket because I've already mixed it. It just kind of saves money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was looking through some of the forums the other day, and I noticed there's some people are doing things to like commemorate dogs, like encapsulating some dog hair from a pet that had passed, or some of its ashes and things like that. That seems like a pretty unique idea, and you could encapsulate that, or flowers, or basically anything that's important in epoxy.
Absolutely.
And preserve it forever.
Yes, I have already played with flowers, so I've already put flowers in. I like to do, I like it when the epoxy is clear and you have those extra embellishments. So we have googly eyes. Sure. We have buttons in them. You can use them for Christmas ornaments. You can use them as like big chunky keychains if someone is it. To recognize a backpack, for the students when they're hanging their little keychain thing on their backpacks. It can be used as many different things. Sure. Bookmarks. I can make epoxy bookmarks. And wow. Yes, so I have several of the bookmarks going out. Badges, name clips. So nurses who have to wear their little name badges, you can create those pop sockets. You use the epoxy to decorate the pop sockets. The back of your phone case can be epoxied and played with and glittered and blinged out. So the possibilities are really endless.
Explain this. How did you do that? Because that's pretty amazing. Okay,
so with this one, I just coated the cup with epoxy, your amazing epoxy, and then I took the iCoat acrylic, and I took a popsicle stick and I just dipped it in and I just did drops. As I did the drops, it was some sort of chemical reaction. It just kind of spread and created a firework.
Was it spinning at the time? Or?
Yes, it's always spinning. Whenever you put epoxy on a cup, you always want your cup spinning because the epoxy will balance itself out. Mm-hmm. If you don't have your cup balanced, you are going to get a bubble.
Gotcha.
That will have to be sanded out at a later time.
And so on this particular one, is this also the acrylic colors that you mixed into that, or how did you do this one? Because it looks so much different than these other ones did. Like this one here has spots on it, and this one is more of a veiny thing. What's the difference? This one was mixed in with the epoxy first. The color was? Yes, okay. And then I just take my popsicle stick and I will drizzle it back and forth, and as it spins, it just creates its beautiful little swirls. Then I take the heating gun and I'll heat it, and that gets it to swirl even more. Okay, that's excellent. And yes. Now this one was also just dropped in, and it was and I've never seen a reaction like this. This is absolutely exciting. I can't wait to duplicate this. This is just a blue and a white that was just dropped in with my popsicle stick. This same exact color, two different techniques. Dropped in the epoxy, and this one is mixed in with the epoxy and swirled around. Same as these ones. This is dropped in and this is swirled. Gotcha. And so let me ask you a question. So on this, the epoxy, it looks perfect. It has to do with it spinning. As it's spinning, the epoxy will level itself out, and if I have my turner balanced, it will spin it. And yes, your epoxy that's how you get the glassy look, is the epoxy. And you had said something else about that one of these, you generally have to put another coat of epoxy on, but with ours you don't, and that's because of the viscosity. Yes, it's super thick, it's amazing. So when I glitter a cup, normally I have to do like 3 or 4 coats of epoxy on top of that glitter before I can even do a decal. Right, okay. Which would be a name or a logo or something. With your epoxy, I can do 1 coat, and it's like thick enough that I just have to sand out some of the bumps, and then I can do my designs. So that would help as far as productivity goes. It does. It helps speed it up. It helps use less product, and I can turn cups out a lot faster. Excellent. Well, they're beautiful. I can tell you that. When we formulated our epoxy, it was important for us to work in commercial kitchens and in food prep areas to make it so that it's food grade and approved for that. I imagine that's important when you're doing something that you are drinking out of or eating off of.
Yes, absolutely, especially when you're doing a cup and you have somebody drinking off of the lip. That is one thing that is really, really important, and that's what I look for in a product, is to make sure that it is going to be food grade and FDA safe.
Excellent.
Yes.
Well, good. So as well as cups and things like tumblers and other things, I've seen some of the bowls you did, but I heard you did cutting boards too.
Yes.
So I imagine that it's important to realize that our epoxy has a 500-degree scorch resistant rating.
That is amazing.
Yeah, a lot of times you take a hot pot off of the stove and put it on something, so being scorch resistant would be important.
It would be absolutely beneficial. I make the pot holders where you would put a pot on it, you know, when the pot starts to get cool. And so it would be absolutely important to have that scorch resistant, so it doesn't soften, it doesn't melt, and it doesn't stick to the pan.
Right, and just so that everybody's clear, scorch resistancy means you can take a burning hot pan off the stove and put it on there, and the pan will dissipate heat out of it, and the epoxy is still going to be fine. What you don't want to do is put something with a heat source directly on it. Like if you had a pot of boiling water, that's fine, because a pot of boiling water is boiling water and it's going to cool off quickly. If you took a pot of boiling oil, that's a different story. That's going to stay hot for a significant amount of time, and we don't want to do that. Also, it's not going to hurt anything to put a crock pot on it, like putting on your counter. But we usually recommend, if you're going to be putting a crock pot directly on an epoxy product, that it isn't white. Because white tends to cream a little bit from heat and things like that, and the heat's generated from a crock pot's very, very high for extended periods of time. Anything with a heat source is okay, but we just don't want to do it on the very light colors. Some of these cups are multiple coats, so how long do you wait in between?
With your epoxy, I can actually go 2 hours and I can reapply.
Okay.
And we call it a flood coat. And so we can flood coat it in 2 hours, and then it'll still run and it'll flatten out and beautifully shine.
But as far as tool cleanup goes, if you get something on your hand, same thing. You can just take a little denatured alcohol and clean it off.
And if you don't have any of that, baby wipes and lotion works amazing. Water will just make it sticky, but if you use baby wipes, it'll get that off, and then lotion, I have found that just completely takes it completely off. Nice. And I don't have any issues when I lotion.
Good, good. That's a good tip.
And it keeps it nice and soft.
Yeah, well, I'm not worried about that, but it's been a pleasure working with you today and learning from you today, and helping you develop your business as you go along. We hope to see a lot more of you. I'd love to have you down here and do some demonstrations so we can share that with other people and get your classes started. That might be a lot of fun.
Yes.
And I'm really looking forward to working with you in the future.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. I'm so glad and blessed to be here. Thank you so much for having me.